Protesters are outside of the Supreme Court reacting to the court's ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade. While some of the folks are celebrating, others are feeling angry and distressed at the future of the country. And the question is, could this decision be one that reignites feminists? According to New York Times columnist Michelle Goldberg, quote, 4 years of Trump, over 2 years of a pandemic, and unending right-wing onslaught, a lot of people are feeling numb and exhausted. Joining me now, Samita Mukhopadhyay. She's a co-editor of Nasty Women, Feminism, Resistance, and Revolution in Trump's America, of which I have an essay in, I should note. It's called Trust Black Women. She's also the former executive editor of Teen Vogue. And Samita, I just want to get your visceral reaction to today's ruling. We are real friends, and so we have talked about the possibility of this happening, but what is your reaction on the day it actually becomes real?
Zarlina, first of all, I'm really happy to be talking to you today, especially because of your kind of decades-long commitment to this issue and bringing this issue to the forefront. And I have felt every emotion that you could possibly feel in the last 4 hours. I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel grief-stricken, I feel righteous, I feel enraged. And even though we knew it was coming, it was like waiting, right? And then when it finally happened, I was just struck with such deep sadness, especially thinking about the women that were trying to get, or pregnant people trying to get abortions today, and the 13 states where trigger bans fell immediately. They're falling as we speak, and just how much pain this is going to cause so many people. And also, I think that there was a level of disbelief. I think I actually had hope, which I didn't realize, and I didn't think they were actually going to do this. And to set the clock back on women's rights this profoundly in 2022, it's a lot to internalize. I'm having trouble believing it, even though it's real.
One of the things I've been thinking a lot about is Brett Kavanaugh. Specifically, he's just coming to the top of my mind today, Justice Kavanaugh. And I keep thinking back to the people who are protesting his confirmation specifically, who are outside in the hallway yelling, "I do not consent." And one of the things that struck me in that moment, if you go back and listen to that tape, it was women screaming from the depths of their souls, right? It was, "I do not consent to putting somebody who credibly is accused of violating bodily autonomy on a court set to overturn our right to bodily autonomy." I mean, speak to the fact that the majority in this opinion includes Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas. I mean, we are looking at a right-wing court with a really specific agenda to set back the clock on women's rights. And this is just the beginning, right? And consent is exactly the right word for this. We do not consent to this. We do not consent to being forced to having children. And when you have a court that has been nominated based on fairly questionable precedent that is tipped so severely to the right wing, there isn't a ton of precedent. I mean, these justices do not reflect the majority of the United States. We are living under, as Rebecca Traister said, we are living under minority rule currently. And that is the place from which they are making these decisions.
I started by talking about Michelle Goldberg's piece, and we've discussed it since she first put it in the New York Times. And you were quoted in the piece saying that you don't see a new influx of feminist energy and identity-focused feminism specifically because, you know, in some ways it's sort of grown out of style. What have you been seeing even prior to the Supreme Court ruling, and do you think the ruling itself could maybe energize some feminists?
So I do think that this ruling, like many of the things that we've seen in recent history and current events, are going to energize a group of young people. And I think they're very energized. And to clarify kind of what I said in that piece, which I think is actually really lays out the stakes right now, I think she does a really good job kind of looking at all of the nuances of contemporary feminism, is we have to remember that feminism, first of all, you know, there was never a time when feminism was really popular, right? And the last 10 years are really, you know, they were a bit of an outlier. And, you know, for it to have become so popular, and I think, you know, all of a sudden it became this kind of like hashtag, you know, to be a feminist. And I think that we should always be wary of that. I think it's important. We need kind of those celebrity feminists. We need the on the ground organizers. Every movement has had both the kind of speakers that are really visible and the organizers and the people on the grassroots. And every generation you kind of have, if you look back 20 years, there's another set of stories about backlash and feminism, right? And 20 years before that. And so there was never really a time when it was particularly popular. And I know we can even relate to this kind of generational, like we didn't necessarily relate to the feminism of our mother's generation, right? And so we also had to kind of carve and find our own way. And I do think that a lot of the kind of, navel gazing, looking internally, while I think it's important, I think as feminists, we often do that. And we feel like we need to be held, we need to hold ourselves responsible for this movement. And feminism is something, it's fluid, it's diverse, it's huge, it's intersectional. There are many different ways that people identify with it. But it's also been saying for a very long time that these cutbacks are coming to Roe v. Wade. And those are not because some young people don't identify with it, right? This is a war on women that has been going on for over 20 years and longer than that. And even calling it a backlash is suggesting that feminism had somehow won when we still have yet to see feminist ideals and feminist values truly being incorporated into any kind of real political leadership. And I don't mean just, putting out diverse candidates. I mean, actually sticking to feminist values and ideals.
It's really important. And I mean, while we do have a woman vice president, the first in American history, we still have not had a woman president. So this idea that feminists won something has always been a really funny premise to me. Samita Mukhopadhyay, I thank you so much for being here. It was great to see you. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.